The Rough Drafts podcast is sponsored by Unicorn.com, the world's premier esports betting site. Bet on your favorite games like CSGO, Dota 2, and League of Legends, and earn Unicoins through successful bets, or use Unicorn's exclusive Connect program, where you can earn Unicoins just by playing some of your favorite games. Use your earnings to enter Unicorn's raffles for exciting prizes like Logitech peripherals or CSGO skins. So join Chase and Walter and prove who really is the esports gambling expert. Unicorn.com. Log on today.
Hello, Internet! This is Chase, RedShirtKing, Wassenar, and welcome to Day 8 of our North American LCS team-by-team preview series. We have done 7 episodes already, breaking down some North American powers, some teams that we're a little bit more confused about, and we have gotten to this day, a day where we're going to break down a team name that must have been filtered through way too many marketing teams. I don't know how we got here.
None. I don't think any marketing team ever took a look at this.
I have no idea how we got here, but it is FlyQuest. One word with the Q still capitalized because esports, I guess? This might be the worst name of all time. And I'm joined to break down the team with the worst name of all time by my good friend and co-host, Walter Ceades, Fedczuk. Walter, how you doing, man?
I am so tilted by this team name, by this logo. This entire organization feels like it's the Twitter account for an airline. And I refuse to call them by their actual name. They're now hereby dubbed Hai and the Boys because I refuse to be part of this farce. This is absolutely terrible. This is a terrible brand, terrible name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks could afford better. Whoever sold him on this idea doesn't deserve to have their job anymore, and that's putting it politely.
Yeah,
I'll be very honest.
It's honestly, it's something that I don't know how it happened. I am going to call them the artist formerly known as Cloud9 Challenger. That's the one I'm going with because, again, outside of a great fly high pun, there's really nothing that's
going to be overused a million times.
Oh, yeah. Can FlyQuest fly high over the competition? Yeah. Well, at least the team, there's some interesting things to talk about with them. They got first place in the North American Challengers Series last split. They are the one team that made it in from the North American Challenger scene into the LCS, kicking NRG out along the way. They did 3-0 Energy in the one series they played in their promotion series. So that's obviously quite nice. And they did keep most of their roster. Balls is their top laner. Hai, who I guess I have no idea what happened to the vested interest that he had in Cloud9, but he's on FlyQuest still playing, so I'm sure that was handled with the responsibility and care that we've seen Riot Games handle all of these kinds of situations with. We've got Alltech as the AD carry, a player that Walter and I have argued about somewhere between 1 and 15,000 times. We've got Lemonation as the support, ThinkCard as the head coach, and the only change was Moon in the jungle. Moon last sighted on NRG in the regular season in the LCS. He was last sighted on Team Liquid Academy in the Challenger Series. So, Walter, first impression when you look at the team that shall not be named.
So just for the people at home, it is January 9th. It's approximately 5:15 in the evening. And this is after the official announcement from Ceades, the co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, officially announcing this team and this organization. This is after the team has been confirmed in the contract database. Yeah, Hai still has Cloud9 branding and is still promoting himself as the chief gaming officer of Cloud9. So just want to keep that out there. Yeah, but when I look at this roster, I mean, okay, yeah, it's a roster. It's not as bad as some other rosters. It has some players that are decent. They're okay. They're Mendoza line players, I think, for the LCS. There's just nothing that necessarily excites me. It's a roster. Like, this is an okay LCS roster, and that pretty much sums up my feelings about this entire affair. It's okay. Well then, that's about it.
Everything is fine, and we mean that in the negative sense rather than the positive one that people usually mean.
Yeah.
It's fine. You're looking at how they performed in the Challenger series, and you can point to a whole bunch of moments of synergy that, you can say that, well, a lot of these players have played together for years. Balls High and Lemon Nation, clearly guys that have a lot of experience playing together.
It's like Neapolitan ice cream. They've been together for a while.
They have, and whether that's good or not, I still am not 100% positive. It does seem like a lot of these guys have been around long enough, and there's a reason that they weren't on the Cloud9 main roster in the first place. But, I think that when you look at the history of this team and how they've been made and the players that did all decide to stay with this new brand despite how loyal they've been to Cloud9 for forever, what gets you excited about this roster, Walter?
So I'm excited watching this roster because I think this is the last ride. I think this is the one last ride for a couple of these players. I think Lemon Nation and Hai mechanically are not necessarily up to snuff with the rest of their competitors. I think Hai comes in as the 9th or 10th best mid laner in North America, and everyone's going to go, but Hai is a great shot caller, but Hai has played multiple positions in his career. We'll get to all that stuff later. I'm going to talk about that shot calling a little bit, because everyone's just going to talk about that. That's all I can hear on Twitter is his amazing shot calling about how this team is going to be a playoff team. But for Lemonation and Hai, I think this truly is their last ride. I think for Balls, this is probably his last ride. If there was a guy that really needed like a change of scenery and kind of break out of the mold that he's been put in, get away from those Diamond 2 memes and all that jazz, I think he really needed to try and separate himself from these other guys and not just turn into, Looper light in terms of he needs to have Hai like Looper needs to have Mata. And then you look at Moon and Alltech, and I think these are young players that still have upside, but again, they've proven on other teams not to be necessarily worthy of staying on those teams, that they needed to be replaced, that you needed to move on from them. And this is a good chance for them to prove that that's not the case, that they can be exceptional players, that they can reach the potential that was set out for them not too long ago. But if they don't, you're starting to fall into pole belter territory of when are they ever going to reach that potential? And I think Alltech is a primary case of pole belter potential. Of it might be a while before he finally breaks the shackles of kind of being a choker and not being, having these moments of brilliance, but the rest of the time kind of being dull and uninspiring. So last ride. We'll see. We'll see what direction this team takes this organization. I think purely based off of the marketing aspect and the name and the logo that this team does not deserve to be in the LCS. But the players, I think they can prove that they belong there.
Yeah, I think that's certainly the case. And, one of the things that I'm sure, we're going to see going forward, at some point, they're going to realize how dumb FlyQuest is as a name, and you got to hope that they're going to change it. And so when you look at the actual players that you want to get excited about, this last ride is an idea that mentally people kind of forget about, but is quite important, which is when players realize that their career is coming to an end, this is their last real chance to make a name for themselves, to prove that they are more than whatever the base legacy that's kind of been built around them narrative-wise has told people. And that is both a positive and a negative. It's a positive because it allows them, that could be fuel for the fire. Just this, this is our chance to prove that we're great players outside of the Cloud9 infrastructure. This is our chance to prove that despite, how many years we've been at this, we've still got it in us. This is a chance for Moon and Alltech to prove that despite whatever misconceptions that have defined their career at this point, or not misconceptions, but just things that have really defined their storylines, this is their chance to rewrite their story. And that can all be fuel to the fire, or it can be the kindling to a destructive flame. It can be the thing that puts a lot of pressure on a team that has two younger guys, or guys that at the very least need to get their, heads back on straight, in Moon and Alltech. And I don't know if the talent level, this mechanic prowess, is enough that they're going to put themselves in a position where they can start building good win streaks. They can start regaining confidence. They can believe in this long-term plan. And if it turns wrong, then the last ride feels like more of a death sentence. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to it. But that's not the thing that makes you nervous, Walter. There's another factor, I think, that is more clearly visible when you look at the roster on paper that is scary. And what is that sticks out in your mind?
I truly wonder with this team if the synergy that they have, this they've been together for a while. Hai, Balls, and Lemonation have been together for quite some time. Despite the fact that Hai and Lemonation have both retired at times, now they're back together. And Lemonation was a coach for a while, and then Hai retired, and then he came back as jungler, and all these things. They've been together for a while. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that they were never truly talented. They were never mechanically amazing. Balls is probably the exception. He was arguably the best top laner in North America, but it was on very specific champions. He didn't have a wide repertoire of champions that he was amazing on. It was mostly his Rumble was his primary champion, and because you were so afraid of other things on the team that he usually got it. Amazing. Like S+ tier champions. That's what I'm trying to say here. And that's the problem, is when I look at all the other talent that is coming to North America, I said it earlier, Hai might be the 9th best mid laner coming in. Can he at all reach into the top 5? Can he get to a guy where he's like kind of level with someone like a Keen? Can he get up to where Froggen is? Anything like that. He hasn't proven in his career that he can. Lemonation has never proven in his career that he is this exceptional mechanical player. He's never been amazing at something like Thresh. Sure, can he hit an Alistar Pulverize combo? Of course he can. Was he sort of the advent of Zyra's support in Season 3, and can he probably still play that champion? Of course he can. He can hit his skill shots. That's not the argument here. But he's never been this exceptional mechanical player where in laning phase they beat their opponents through mechanical outplays. It's usually mental plays. It's usually mind games. It's usually setting something else up for later in the laning phase. It's about learning their tendencies. And I'm just not sure at where the talent level is in the rest of North America, if that's going to be enough for this team to survive. Everyone else that's in North America got better. It's not like there's an energy where everyone was on the downswing that Cloud9, that Hai and the boys, as I'm going to call them. I'm not going to call them FlyQuest. But I just don't know if there's a team that they truly can come in and totally exploit in that regard. When I look at all these other matchups, like maybe one or two on paper sort of tilts in their favor, but then the other ones tilt so far away from them. I'm trying to imagine Balls playing against Someday. I'm trying to imagine Hai playing against Bjergsen. It never went really well. And the way that the old Cloud9 roster used to beat a team like TSM, used to beat a team that was truly more talented than them, was through this synergy, was through game plan, was through all this strategic type stuff. And I'm not quite sure that's enough anymore. I think that when you have talent and the game plan and synergy, the team that has the talent and the game plan and synergy is going to beat the team that has lesser talent and only the game plan and synergy.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those things that we've pointed to in the past, but it really needs to be re-accentuated now that we see players that are obviously fan favorites, have been historically very successful. But every single one of those, when you look at Balls, Hai, and Lemonation, all of them have had to take breaks from their professional career. And it's not because it wasn't all by choice. There were times in which Cloud9 systematically made improvements because what made those guys work was the system that they created. This is what made Lemon Nation a great coaching candidate. This is why Hai was brought in at multiple different positions, because of his shot calling aspect, not his mechanic prowess. They are intelligent players. They are players that understand how to make good rotations. They understand that Cloud9 game that we always talk about. You want one tower, we take two. You get a dragon, we get a baron. That's how they've always played the game mentally. But guess what? We're now, year 7 of the LCS. We have much better infrastructure around the vast majority of these teams. So many more angel investors coming in and giving people an identity, giving people enough, coaches and analysts and all of these different factors that can all give this advanced information as to how to prepare for these teams week after week. What they used to, what Balls, Hai, and Lemon Nation had to define their careers is now something that is a day-to-day occurrence within the LCS. And teams that fail to meet those standards are the teams that fall apart. That's not the whole way that you win nowadays. It's the barrier to entry. And Cloud9 has executed this formula well without any of these pieces. And, I don't think that they're doing anything particularly unique or difficult to decipher. And then you add on top of it that the other two pieces are Moon and Altec, two guys that are notorious for choking in high-pressure situations. That's not great, especially because Quest Airlines seems like a place that would involve a lot of high-pressure situations as you continually rise through the atmosphere. I don't know. It seems like a concern to me. I'm with you on that wholeheartedly. But, there is a factor that can determine this season, Walter. It's a storyline that you have expressed resentment towards many times on this show.
I hate it.
But it cannot be avoided. Let's talk about the Hai effect.
I'm dubbing it The Legend of Hai Lam. That is what I would call the movie. It'd be, you'd have the old school spaghetti western music started. I think this would be maybe Guillermo del Toro. Quentin Tarantino, that's who I'm thinking of. Quentin Tarantino. Yeah. I think the sweeping shot on, 8mm camera film, sweeping shots as they come in. They're coming in across, Santa Barbara, Santa Monica, coming across LA, honing in on the studio, sweeping shot past the studio, sweeping in on the old Cloud9 house, and then finally settling at the front door of Hai's new gaming house. And zooms in on the doorknob and it opens. And out steps Hai Lam in his brand new uniform. And then the Legend of Hai Lam comes on screen and the music raises. And that's the entire thing. That's what this split is going to be about. Every time Hai has appeared, has come out, he came and he played jungle for the Cloud9 and fixed everything. And they surged and they did well and they succeeded. It was great. And then they moved on and they tried the Rush experiment and, they moved on. Cloud9 kept doing that. And then he took the mantle of, we're going to do this Challenger team. We're going to get this Challenger team into the Challenger Series. Then we're going to grow some North American talent. And then they didn't do that. It was all a ploy. It was all a joke. They didn't actually want to do that. But he pushed this team and they succeeded. They were the best team in the Challenger Series. They took the #1 spot. They got into the LCS. They made Jack a whole lot of money. That greedy person. And now we're at this point where we look at Hai and we have to accept the fact that he has taken what one of my favorite historical players did in Reginald. Reginald was famous for just suicide diving as Karthus and Kennen. And Hai took that, and that's primarily what they used in Challenger. People were scared of his Kennen because that is the equivocal champion to Hai. I am our engager. I am the guy you follow. Follow me into battle. Do what I tell you to do. I'm going to micromanage this. I'm going to shot call everything. This is my team. This is how I want the game to play. And all the players that surrounded him accept that. And they go, he's our captain. He's the guy in charge. We're going to do that. And I think that'll be beneficial to some of the younger players. I think it was beneficial to Contracts, to the point that I'm worried about how Contracts is going to fit into the new Cloud9 team, and everyone lambasted me for that. Fine, whatever. I think that this is the chance for Hai to really cement that legacy. This would be the third time. Third time's the charm. If you can really nail it here and he somehow wills this team and directs this team and micromanages this team into success, as much as I hate it, as much as it is repeated, as much as Kerp's trackball, you have to accept it. You have to accept it as fact. And he will become he's the general. He's the Dade of North America. He is the perfection of the strategy that Reginald created in Season 2 and brought into Season 3 and that his career died with. If Hai can do this, then he solidifies his legacy. He solidifies the fact that he is one of the greatest North American players, period. Not talent-wise, but just in general. And if he doesn't, then we go, well, maybe it was the players around him, and maybe the players around him now this time just aren't good enough. Maybe it really was Sneaky and Meteos, that they added that extra bit. It's just aren't the right pieces. We're going to start having these types of questions. And at the end of the season, that's where it's going to be. Either all these players look great, and we're gonna sum it up of, well, Hai is this great shot caller. He got everybody going in that direction, and that's why this team is successful. Or, well, the players, I guess it just didn't quite fit. Hai wasn't quite good enough to pull these guys around. And I'm not quite sure necessarily where I land on that, but I truly think that at the end of the day, that's the storyline. That's the defining fact and feature of this Hai and the boys team. That's going to be it. That's it. That's the end all.
I think there's a midway point between the two kind of standards you've set. Whatever happens to Hai this split, his legacy is cemented. I mean, no one could imagine going 25-3 in your first split coming out of the Challenger Series. No one could have imagined the dominance that Cloud9 would have for the next couple of years afterwards. No one would imagine just the sheer, the influence that he had to the extent that Cloud9 desperately needed him to bail them out on multiple occasions, mind you. Despite wrist injuries and everything else, the guy, there's no doubt. There will be no doubt, regardless of how FlyQuest does, that he is an amazing player and that he will be remembered as the mastermind of early League of Legends. My question is whether the story has already hit what is essentially the final chapter, because he's been doing this since the summer of Season 3. That is 4 years we're going into now.
Yep.
Of LCS talent, of people watching him and playing against him and learning from him and taking those lessons to kind of, add to their own game knowledge. Like, there's nothing about this team that's going to catch people off guard anymore. This is just a new era of the LCS, and to me, my prediction for this team, I think that they're going to be a very struggling team. I think they could potentially be the worst team in North America. I think that there's enough, just synergy on the roster that they will not be the worst. I think Hai can will this team to 9th place, but I think they're relegation bound, especially because I have no faith in Alltech or Moon on the big stage. Again, maybe Hai helps with that. That is a very fair point, but I got burned by Alltech one too many times. I even rooted for Winter Fox despite Brian Cordry for you, Alltech. That's how much you broke my heart.
Oy. I'm
not letting it happen again. My walls are up. But there are a lot of people with a lot of different opinions about FlyQuest. Where do you end up on it, Walter?
I agree. I think they're going to struggle. I think that the talent, I think that's the problem. I think that early on this team may be surprising. They'll probably fit that sort of envious mold where we'll see them have a good run at the beginning of the split. But as other teams catch up, as other teams get used to the imported players that they have, they'll probably be ahead of Dignitas and Immortals for a couple weeks. But as those teams really mesh and get a hold of themselves, and we don't know where the meta will end up 6 weeks into the season. We don't know whether it's going to shift to something that's totally assassin-based, maybe, which would feel more helpful for Hai. He's a decent Zed player. He's a decent LeBlanc player. Or if it's going to go to something where it really minimizes his ability to impact the rest of the map. It could switch back to something like Karma, for all we know. It could be you play mid laners like Varus and Kog'Maw and things like that, and there's not a whole lot you can do to roam and influence the map that way. I agree. I think they're going to be fighting to stay out of relegation. I don't think this is necessarily the worst team, but I would put them in that bottom 3 right now with those 3 teams, with Envious and with another team that we'll talk about later in the week. But there is a chance they make the playoffs. Like, there's a high variance for this team if other teams aren't successful. But I think the likely outcome is we're looking at probably a bottom 3 team and struggling to stay in the LCS.
Yeah, that sounds fair to me. I know that there are going to be some people who, love what they saw from Cloud9 Challengers. They are by far one of the more dominant performances that we've seen heading into the LCS. Going 8-2 in Challenger and then 3-0ing the only opponent that stood in your way certainly was more impressive than a Misfits performance that for a team that we're much higher on when it comes to Europe. So I don't know if that says more about the number of imports that have come in or how much we just have to have these question marks around Moon and Alltech, both of whom I hope proved me wrong. I'm curious to see what you all think in the comments. This has probably been the most divisive team I've seen amongst analysts when people talk to each other, as far as people really loving the team or people really hating the team. I want to hear from you guys, whatever side you're on. Post in the comments down here, or keep the conversation going on Twitter. I'm at RedShirtKing. Walter, where can the nice people at home find you?
You guys can find me at Ceades_LOL. Yes, it is an absolutely terrible name and logo. It is awful. Awful.
Yeah, we're going to move on to a team that, if nothing else, I think it's safe to say that they've branded themselves into a wonderful fan base that we have had so many positive interactions with. And let's get the positivity train back on track as we examine the logic behind a team that has been at the forefront of North America for a while now. So until then, goodbye, Internet.
Hey there, Ceades here. Thanks for checking out the podcast. And if you enjoyed today's episode, consider supporting us at www.patreon.com/roughdraftspod. For just $1 a month, you can join your fellow listeners in our patron-only Discord channel and help keep the content coming, or join our VIP club where $1 a show or $8 a month gets you first priority on all patron content like our patron-only Q&As. And check us out on all of our social media, Twitter @RoughDraftsPod, Facebook.com/RoughDraftsPod, SoundCloud.com/esportsroughdrafts, as well as on iTunes and YouTube by just searching for the Rough Drafts Podcast. Thanks for listening, and goodbye, Internet.